Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey. Welcome to the 8th Tech Talk today. We are going to build a WordPress site today. So we're going to demonstrate how it's going to be done on DigitalOcean. So before we go ahead and do that, how are you guys? It's Friday. But but
Yay.
but it's Friday in December, just before Christmas. It's like
Yep, there's lots to do, but it's nice that's Friday at least.
yeah.
But it's really cozy as well. Like
Yeah.
it gets dark around, I don't know, 2 now,
Yeah.
something
Oh,
like that. So like you have all your lights in your apartment and you have your Christmas star in the window, and yeah, I don't
yeah.
know, I like it.
We had put up Christmas lights all over the house and outside, and we had really went the extra mile. We had put it everywhere, like on the trees, on the branches, on the fence. I think that we like have 50 or 60, maybe even more meters of
Oh my
lights.
god.
And I connected it with the smart, how do you call it? Like smart
Like
socket.
homey
Yeah,
apps.
yeah, stuff like that. Like things that you can control it with with your mobile phone. So I set it right to turn on right when it gets dark, like, and it turns off right when it gets bright outside. So yeah,
Cool.
we're getting into that time of year. Cool.
That to me always sounds like really techy. Like, oh, could I like
No, it's super simple.
power my home from my phone? But it's really not that complicated. I
No,
realized
you
it's
have.
really easy and clever.
Yeah, it's like I think the term is smart smart socket, right?
Okay.
Smart power
No,
socket. Yeah.
yeah, smart power socket.
Sounds like
Yeah,
that should be
yeah.
it.
I have like a bunch of them. I think that
Cool.
every brand sells them now, and Amazon has a bunch. TP Link and other brands that develop anything related to networks have this.
Yep.
So it's quite cool to have. And yeah, all right, let's get going with the WordPress. Sometimes infamous, sometimes very useful, and but definitely one of the most famous uh, blogging slash site platforms currently.
And
So
very beginner friendly, if I
and
say so myself.
and very beginner friendly. Yes. So it is it is the way that it is basically it's helping out everyone uh, put up their content in a somewhat controlled. They control the hosting. They can control the. Actually, they don't have to control the hosting. They already have on the WordPress platform. They have an ability. I think, if I'm sure, if you go on WordPress, then you can actually post a website there in WordPress also.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And a lot of like web hotels today, if you have one, have like a single click. I think they call it one click
Yep.
WordPress installation, and it's done. So
Yeah,
it's very like it's WordPress is all around you,
Yep.
is my sense, but it's really like it's helpful with their kind of way of doing it with the templates and uh, like modules really, and like you can go in different directions when it comes to code, and you can also, for people that doesn't code, you can do your own website now with the Gutenberg blocks. You can just drag and drop and stuff like that. So it's really beginner friendly for your first website. Perhaps it's a learning curve that's kind of easy.
yeah. I remember when I had I was asked to develop a website, and the question was for me to scrape. I had to scrape some information from another site to present it on that site, and it was quite challenging actually. And then I started thinking about how am I going to do this. Okay, I have to build a scraper, I have to build this, I have to build that. And then I kind of realized that there is already a plugin made on WordPress that I wasn't planning on using, but I saw that there was a plugin made for that specific site, made by that site. It was a site similar to Blocket, similar to like an ad site for cars, and they
To
like
like
made
Craigslist sort of thing.
Craigslist is similar like that, yeah, but for cars. And like they had already developed that add-on just to help people integrate their homepage, if you would like to call it, your page when you build, when you put up an ad, you have like your own page, let's call it. And they made it so it's so easier. And I was like, whoa, okay, this will save me like 3 weeks worth of work. And that's when I kind of realized that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And if WordPress offers the solution for something that will help you out, build it in a couple of days, why not?
It can be very fun to reinvent the wheel, though.
Yeah, it can. And it's very like even there in the beginning. I worked in WordPress a lot and WooCommerce. So in the beginning, when I was in school, we like sort of talked a bit about WordPress, and I started to um, experiment in the code with different templates, just do little changes, and then I started doing my own templates, and then I started working on a web agency in Oslo, and we always did WordPress sites or WooCommerce e-commerce platforms.
Cool.
And we always build them from scratch. So that was like, okay, the learning curve is getting higher, but
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, something in me really likes WordPress, and I really like the community behind it. Like everyone can build a plugin and they can advertise it, and it's free for all, and it's very like open source mindset, which
Yeah.
I like.
It's always fun to have a big community behind something. Sometimes you
Yeah.
can find some technology that is really cool, but there's little, or let's say the community isn't that active. People are not that active. And if you have a place where you can ask a trivial question and you get an answer quite easy, or you can search for that answer and you can see that a lot of people have already had that question, then it's quite reassuring
Yeah.
to use that.
And like there's so many people that have used WordPress or are using WordPress, and they have like a forum on their website on different languages. There's a lot of Facebook groups. I have Norwegian and Swedish Facebook groups that are only for WordPress or WooCommerce, where you can ask questions. And there's like just going to, I went to a WordPress meetup in, oh God, it sounds like, oh, WordPress, it's the only thing. I really like WordPress, but there are a lot of other CMS out there as well. But I went to a WordPress meetup in Berlin a couple of years ago, and I think we were about like 8,000 people there. And there were so many people that you could talk to, and like we had a common interest, and so many developers that you meet and can talk to. And it's not just agencies, there's private people or freelance or stuff like that. So it's a really great community of developers.
It helped people build sites more. It helped them not depend a lot on companies. So it helped kind of in that movement of helping people and helping small companies build their own websites. It definitely helped that in that area. All right. So
Should we build something?
yeah, let's go. So I'm going to share the screen. All right. Just a sec. So we can put it perhaps like this. Okay, cool. So this is already quite a familiar site. When you first log in, you get to this page. When you first log into DigitalOcean. So when you log on to digitalocean.com, you are going to be asked for your payment. So I have to again say you have to have some sort of a payment. DigitalOcean isn't free; you have to pay for it, but it's not that costly. You can run a server for $5 per month, and that's a quite decent configuration where you can run multiple WordPress instances or sites on it.
So just to repeat the basis from people that haven't seen the DigitalOcean TikTok, this is like you can do a virtual server here on DigitalOcean. You have to pay for it. There are other alternatives there as well, but we're using this one.
So there are alternatives where you can test out things. You can have your local. You can have your computers be as a local server. You can test it out, but when you want to go public and you want to have people accessing your site, you have to choose a provider that will help you do that. So DigitalOcean is one of them. They're helping you out create a server, so a virtual private server, as it's called, VPS. And when you log in, you get to this dashboard, and it's quite simple. You go to create, you go to droplets. Droplets is just a way DigitalOcean calls servers. We click droplets, and in this demonstration, we can go directly to the marketplace. And obviously, we are going to select, when it loads, we are going to select WordPress. WordPress 5.8 on Ubuntu 20.04. So it will run on this environment on Ubuntu. WordPress, this latest version will run on Ubuntu. So you don't have to know a lot about this to get it running. We are just going through the details of it. You just select Marketplace, select WordPress, go about and select. You can go ahead and go with the cheapest option of CPU. So you can select $5 per month. Data center region depends on where your clients will access the server from, or where their clients will access their server from. So we will put Frankfurt because it is the closest place to us. We could have put up Amsterdam or London also. So anywhere in Europe. The next thing that we have to choose is how we are going to access the droplet or the server. So we can use the SSH keys, or you can use the password. If you are not sure about SSH keys, you can freely use the password. You just have to type in a big password here, and you will get check here if it is good enough for you to use, because you have to keep your password safe and strong. I will use an SSH key, and we had demonstrated how to create an SSH key in the last Tech Talk. I will show it and link it later on in the comments. So I will use this key test that I had created in the Tech Talk, and that's pretty much it. We can select for backup, we can enable backups, we can do a lot of stuff, but let's not dive into that. Let's just create a droplet. All right, so this is the droplet that is being created right now. We have to wait for a couple of seconds because obviously it's doing the work for us now. I had tried out with this server before, a little bit testing before this Tech Talk.
It's always nice to test it first, so you're like, oh, do I remember how? It's been a long time since I made a new WordPress site. I think it will be a bit rusty.
Some small things change. So this is also, I haven't built WordPress sites for a very long time. And I have to be honest, 2 years ago, when you did this through Marketplace, it didn't work as good. Some things got messy and tricky. So I was much more happier on installing WordPress by myself, so manually, after building a server, putting up some environment. Then I had built the WordPress, installed the WordPress myself. Cool. So we have the Droplet here. It has this IP address. In order for us to get started, you have to click copy here, and you have
So
to access. Yeah,
when you
sorry.
say Droplet, it's like this is the server for just this website.
True. Yes. So
Yeah.
this is the Droplet is actually a marketing word some sort of a word that DigitalOcean made up in order to refer to their VPSs or servers. So they called it Droplet because it's a perhaps digital ocean, but it's a small drop in the ocean, perhaps. I don't know. So you have to copy this IP address. IP address is a unique identifier for your server. So when we go about and access this, we will just get a message from DigitalOcean saying, hey, you still need to configure a little bit here. Nothing is done here. So in order for us to get started with WordPress, we have to access this IP address using an SSH client. An SSH client is called PuTTY in this demonstration, but you can have it, for example, if you are using other operating systems instead of Windows, then you have other things at your disposal. I'm not sure when it comes to Mac. Mac has its own environment, it has its own terminal, right? So you can actually use SSH in it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Or
it's pre-installed.
pre-installed. Okay, cool. So obviously on all of the GNU distributions or other Linux distributions that have a graphical user interface, you also have a terminal pre-installed. So all right, I will just switch up to this window here on PuTTY. So this is also an important step to go through. So we type in the IP address here. We have port 22. And because I used SSH key, then I have to go to this SSH, then to auth, and I have to select the private key for authentication. And this is my private key test, I called it. This is the example from before. So you can follow exactly what we did in the last example. You pick up right at this step. So we put this key into the client, and we can go back here, but we don't have to. We can go ahead and just click open. Okay, just a sec.
It's like PuTTY. Is that like a FTP client?
It's an SSH client.
Oh, okay.
It's an SSH client, but we could also use FTP if we want. I think that we have to just log in to the server, and that is, and in that step, we kind of confirm that we had accessed the server, and then it lets us go to the next step. But here we log in as, and I have to type in the passphrase that I had defined for the private key. And this has also been explained in the last tech talk. So let me just type it in. Okay, so what I get here right now is, all right. Let me just move, if I can move my name from here. Just a sec. All right. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do that because doing anything live is tricky. All right. What the heck?
So what
Okay.
does it says like
It,
before
it, it,
slash subdomain name?
it says domain slash subdomain name.
Oh,
So it kind of forces you to put in a domain here. But we don't have to do that. We don't have a domain for this demonstration. But if we did, we would put up, I don't know, blog. Oh, sorry. We would put up blog.46elks.com. And if we had that domain bought and we would have to integrate it into DigitalOcean, then we would just type in that domain. We will later explain how you can import, let's say, in that way, a domain into DigitalOcean. So you can also do that, but we will not cover that step right now. Let's just ignore this for now. Let's just go and I had just like skipped this step, and I have entered the server using the SSH client. And then when I go to the IP address using my browser, what I get is this. And I select English. So we get to the wizard. Practically a step-by-step wizard guides us through the installation of WordPress. Very easy.
so
We select
this was the IP address that you just typed into your
yes.
browser, and this is the first thing you get to see then when you're.
When you type in this address, you get this. So this is the first thing you see. You select your language, put it a site title. I have already practiced 46Alex blog, username admin, and we have a password here, which I'm going to hide, and I'm going to type in some other stuff here. All right, and all right, I'm going to put up my email here. Cool. And just like the basic information, your email, username, password, and what would you like your site to be named?
And
And
the reason for typing in your email is not like WordPress is not gathering emails random. It's just that Rene is the admin of this website, and if he needs to change his password, the emails will go to his email and stuff like that.
true. And you have to keep one thing in mind when you go about and want to reset your password. You will get an email most probably in your spam folder.
Oh.
Why? Rupus, would you care to explain why? Do you have an idea why?
Because it will be the server sending sending the password reset email, and your server is probably not trusted. At least if it's an IP address coming from DigitalOcean, most mail servers will think, no, that's spam.
Yeah. So actually, Gmail or whatever provider you use for your emails will say, this is kind of sketchy. I'm going to put this in the spam folder. So realize that you have to check your spam folder when you click that reset password in the future, if you need that. All right. I forgot I don't know if I, just a second, I don't know if I copied my password. I don't want to test. I don't want to test it right now. Just a sec. I'm going to paste it. Oh, I didn't paste it. Okay, I'm going to show it then. Okay, cool.
You have to change it later and check your spam folder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have this success page. WordPress has been installed. Username is admin, and password is your chosen password. Very, very wise of WordPress not to show us our password directly here. So we type in admin, and I paste the password here, and log in.
And a little trick just to like, I didn't know this in the beginning, but when you go to a website that's based on WordPress and you want to, like, if you are the admin or if you want to do some changes on a website that you have access to, you just type in the URL to the website and then slash VP WP hyphen admin, and you get to that site. Because I thought it was a bit tricky in the beginning. I was like, how do I log in now again? So
Yeah, it's we should also cover some security measures that you have to take when it comes to WordPress. So I would also recommend for you to change that default admin URL right away. So usually, maybe I'm a bit paranoid, but usually I change it when I install a WordPress instance on a server. Then I change that default URL. So because I've noticed that when you look at the logs, that is something that is being targeted immediately. Like they check for VP-admin and they start to run stuff on it, and or try to run stuff on it. And you can, as we shared before about security, about having fail to ban, you can also set up your fail to ban service. Fail to ban service is actually protecting you from different attacks on the web. You can set it up so that people, or I would say bots, are not trying to crack, or if they try to crack your username and password using that form, using that sign up form before. So if I log in, if I log out here, and I'm here right now, so someone could try out and type in root admin1, and they can brute force the attack. They can try to guess the password, and they use up the resources from my server, and my server gets sluggish, slow, and possibly can be hacked. So there are services like fail to ban and other things that kind of use other services that kind of block those bots and their IP addresses, so they cannot access this that easy. So we will talk about that also at one point. That's pretty much it. We have a WordPress site running. If we go about and log out actually, and go directly to that IP address now, we will have this hello world. So we have a site running.
they have updated the default template, I see now.
Yeah, I noticed
Yeah,
that
it's
too.
a 20.
Cool.
Yeah. What is it called? The template 20 something. It's always something like that.
Yeah.
Let's check it out.
And as a default, you also get like the last couple of templates.
Yeah, you get. So you think you're thinking about 2019 and 2020.
They always have, like, you have one that's the default and that's the latest template that WordPress has provided you with, and then you get the two latest year's templates, like a collection.
Cool. Oh, you can have lots of things changed here. So we can go to customize, we can change up the theme, we can install our own theme. In the next couple of tech talks, we are going to share how you can install a plugin. So there are a lot of plugins already. So not as much. Only two plugins available right now. but you can install plugins that will help you add functionalities to your website. I mentioned the one where I scraped another site with the plugin. Oh, you can have a plugin using 46Elks to send SMSs and stuff like that, but we are going to into that in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, spam is also an issue, obviously, here because you get anti-spam plugin pre-installed, so that sends a message that obviously something is here.
You can also build your own plugins.
Yeah,
It's really easy for things that you want to like lift out as a building block for your WordPress site.
really cool. So yeah, it's quite easy getting about and editing the page. So we go to the simple page. We remember this, so we can type in whatever here, and we can get started on our blog. You can customize it, you can change it up, and it's quite easy to change it, to customize it. So yeah, that's what WordPress is all about.
Have you, Rupus, have you built any WordPress sites?
Not from scratch, but I've maintained one for yeah, but that was a long time ago, in 2016, I think.
It feels like it has like changed a lot, and I know with like the Gutenberg building blocks, the whole like you can, as we saw on plugins, you can install the classic editor, and that's like the old version of WordPress that you probably would be familiar with. But
Yeah, I haven't
Gutenberg,
seen this new thing with dragging things around.
but that's like, I think that's default now, and I think they introduced that in 2019, I want to remember. And it was like everyone that was working with WordPress then, they were like, oh, okay, what does this mean? So everyone, you don't have to be able to code now. Like everyone can just drag and drop. And would they need web agencies? But
It's very
you,
inspired by Squarespace and similar services.
yeah,
Squarespace
it
Wix.
is.
Yeah.
But I think like it just everyone just needed to take a deep breath and like, yeah, all right, wait a minute, we have conversations with our customers, we can build like things that other people can't. So we're still needed developers that do WordPress sites.
Yeah, it's the no code movement also has some similarities to all it. So you more and more, I think that Microsoft has presented some tools. Perhaps I'm mistaken. They made some pretty easy way to build a database by drag and drop. I forgot that name that they use. It's a project. If someone
Microsoft
knows, they can.
Access? No,
No, no,
that's
no,
like
no, no.
Excel but more database like.
No, there it's power something. If somebody knows and is irritated about us not knowing, feel free to comment. But usually people shout at the screen.
It's like when
So
you can't remember like an actor's name, you're like, the one that's in
yeah,
movies. And
yeah. It is. I know a person, a friend of mine that has built quite a complicated application using like almost no code. So it was his challenge. Like, I don't want to hire anyone. I'll do it myself. And actually, he learned a lot during the path that he took and during those challenges. But it was quite inspiring because he did it. He had it was he sold exotic spices like cinnamon and stuff like special cinnamon, Ceylon cinnamon, I think, and other spices like 100 and something. and he wanted to have his own enterprise resource planning, like ERP, and he wanted to build it from scratch. And he hired someone, but they weren't good enough actually. And he was frustrated, and he said, "I'm going to build it myself." And he did.
Yep,
It
it's
was quite
really like
cool.
the no code movement is really like a building bridge to people that like for instance, like a startup, they don't have a lot of money in the beginning, or just like a one person company, they don't have a lot of money. And if you can just drag and drop and like get a website out there with information, then like it's a good first step for people.
Yeah,
But often like developers can answer questions about security and like do other measurements when things start like growing. It might be good to include a developer.
it's sometimes it's not that important to have it. Like sometimes people tend to overcomplicate on some things that are not the core thing that is quite important for the company right now. For example, websites. So most of the companies only need basic information there. They don't need like a lot of complicated services. So perhaps they need a web shop. But you now have, when I was doing web shop things, I think OpenCart was at that time was at all glory. Like everyone used OpenCart. OpenCart is open resource web shop that you can install quite easily. And if you perhaps you only need OpenCart to have that basic functionalities, and you can install it practically by yourself.
It's the
And
same with WooCommerce.
really cool to have that. I found the Microsoft. Oh, yeah. Let me sneeze. Oh, not. Okay, it went by. Okay, so I found it's called Power Apps. So okay, but it has the creation HR, but ignore that. PowerApps.microsoft.com. So I think that he used that. So
Cool.
he did a lot of stuff with that.
And we just made a WordPress site in like, I don't know, how long did it take? 20
I think
minutes?
15
it was.
minutes.
I think yeah, 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, and we talked a lot and explained a
Yeah.
lot.
Yep.
Yeah. So quite, and yeah, we can cover the domain part. And if anyone has any questions and would like to continue this conversation, comment, ask. We'll help. It's not that big of a deal to help.
And I think we can like explore the topic of WordPress a bit more in future TikToks. Like if you want to build your own template or go in the code and like tweak the template's CSS or something like that, we can show that. And you talked about plugins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we can cover that, and I think it will be quite useful for some people that are just getting into that, and hopefully they will find us. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's Friday. It's time to enjoy the weekend. Hopefully, everyone will have a fun weekend, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
See ya.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Oh, let me hit the outro.